Okay, so now it's February 17th, next day. I was up until 5:30 in the morning doing that. Oh, it's going on 3 in the afternoon now. I'm just gearing up for the next batch of canning here because everything in the oven is ready to go. The stalks are ready to go. Now, these jars are all greasy because I'm working with a lot of greasy stuff. So, I am going to have to move things along. So, we're right here. So, I'll move everything here. Start moving things here, well, into the sink, washing. And then all those jars, after they're washed, are going to go here. And then this opens up the counter for the next batch. Okay, which will probably take up the whole counter. Now you understand why I did it, people. This is a lot of food. Okay, this is a lot of food. So in the meantime, I got my stuff from nuts.com. This is the box that they sent it in. Alright. Anyway, look at that. Black eyed peas. Yeah, black eyed peas, people. Look at that. That's 25 pounds. And then I've got 2 boxes, same size, of the cornmeal. So, I don't know where I'm going to put these. Right, might have to get some more jars. Now, I do want to buy another batch. I can't remember what it was. 75 bucks, 78 bucks, something like that. Right? And if you spend over $100 US, the delivery is free. So I'll probably buy 1 or 2 more of these because black eyed peas are hard to find in bulk, right? Unless, of course, I buy it maybe from, what is that called? Organic Matters. But it costs a little more if I do it through Organic Matters. I don't know. I look so dark. This camera is for what I paid for it. I don't know. Or maybe it's just my house, people. I wouldn't be surprised. So anyway, I'm trying to cure myself up. You just pace yourself. I'll be up again till 3 o'clock in the morning canning. But once it's canned, just have to wash the jars, take them down, and continue working in the basement. In between working in the basement, I'm playing the piano. Right? So, right. Actually, I should go into the bedroom there and look on the chart and figure out 1 chord with this hand and 1 chord with this hand and just start practicing, like, you know, the chords, right? And try and remember them. And then continue playing what I like to play, right? And then eventually I'll write notes to them and maybe even some words, who knows. I just don't want to get motivated. It's just like, right? Getting a little worried about Amari. He's not pooing, people. I mean, how many days has it been? Right? 6 days. Like, come on. Do you see what I go through? So, like, you know, I'm feeding, and he's not pooping. He's not even trying to push. So I'm thinking to maybe put a little suppository in there. But then I don't know. They cleared out his gut, so, you know, I don't know, people. Anyway. Okay, so let me get on it. I'll be back. Okay, so now it is February 18th, 2022. Yesterday, I just basically worked on the stock and whatever was in the oven, I went through it, and long story short, I put it in the fridge. I put the stalks outside, lids on, covered them up, so that when I start bringing them in, I'll be able to scrape off that surface grease. Same thing with the pig's feet. Before I'd can the pig's feet with the liquid and the meat, which you'll see how I will do, and more than likely it will gel in the jar simply because of the you know. I'm tired. I ended up laying down in the early part of the evening and watching TV and falling asleep. Because I was up till 5:30 in the morning canning this beautiful stuff. That's the lamb with the broth. And everything else that I canned. Right? So I'm listening right now. I'm trying to get caught up with various different...
Most of them aren't even Canadians. And they're there with their machine guns and their shotguns and their weapons, and they're already arresting the leaders and saying, in the news, they're being held.
Here we go.
They're being held, and we won't tell you why.
With different opinions. Right? You know, I see TV news. Once in a while I'll watch a global news on YouTube, or obviously BitChute. Right now we're listening to Alex Jones. He's getting right to the gist of it in terms of what's going on in Russia and Ukraine and what's going on in Ottawa, right? In terms of how the Canadian federal government, who don't do their job and ensure that the Criminal Code of Canada, right, is followed in our Supreme Courts right across the country, right? Because the Criminal Code of Canada technically is obsolete when you allow local autonomy between the provinces, where you, as of 2022, you can have a couple of provinces over there remove mandates and inoculation passes and all this other shit. But then when you come to British Columbia, Canada, where the rabbit hole gets deep, right? And we've got Dr. God, Dr. Death toeing the line for the stakeholders and not for the general public, okay? You get a whole different fucking scenario, right? To which the federal government becomes obsolete, right? All we have to do is go back to court with Uncle John and see how they honor the Criminal Code of Canada. All right? Let me remind you of that. So in the meantime, we've got our federal government that's being led by a shapeshifter, basically, something that's not itself in terms of a human being, right? Threatening to take children away from law-abiding citizens that feel that they have to protest in Ottawa in order for them to hear their voices, to be able to protect their kids. And so, as well as taking the dogs and the animals as they're arresting people now. This is what I'm hearing, but I'll have to fact check it, right? In terms of, you know, only you can only get so much information at one time, right? In terms of from, you know, these independent people who do live streams. You know, if there's somebody I'm subscribed to a couple of individuals on YouTube that do their live streams in Ottawa. They're not everywhere all the time. That's what I'm trying to say. So just because they didn't see something doesn't mean it didn't happen if it's being reported on BitChute, whether it's through Alex Jones or some other content creator, right? That's, you know, been around for 20 years plus, okay? Because there's a few of them on BitChute that know what they're talking about, okay? That's why they're there, right? Because they know. Because they've been doing it a long time, right? In terms of rooting out the truth. So, there's a few things I want to say today throughout this video, just as talking points for future, but I don't want to dwell on it because I have to focus on what I got to do today. I got 2 big pots of beef broth to can up with the pork, which I'll probably end up doing by itself depending on how much liquid I get with it in terms of the pig's feet, right? Because I don't want to lose that taste, eh? Right? I'd rather do smaller jars than try and do a larger jar and fill it up with beef stock. I'd rather try and just keep the flavor within the flavor, right?
And they're cutting the resources off.
And then we've got the sausage, and oh my God, I gotta go downstairs now. I just remembered. I've got ring sausage and sandwich meats, which I'm going to just chop up here, okay? And then put them in the oven and get them cooking a little bit to degrease them, okay? Because we're talking, you know, kupasa. Kupasa! Sausage from Ukraine. Good stuff. I'm Ukrainian, people. So all this stuff going on in Ukraine directly relates to me and my family, okay? I don't necessarily see Putin as a threat from a Ukrainian's point of view sitting up in Canada, right? Because I just know that what Uncle John told me. Hold on a minute.
They said stop, and NATO's taking the country right now and pushing ethnic Russians out of the country that have been there since before Ukraine existed. And that's how you start a fight.
I don't want to talk over him. I want to be able to, I'm going to go backtrack and I'm going to listen, right, as I'm doing this. But, what was I saying? I don't see Putin as a threat, as a Canadian, what do you call it? Ukrainian, right? From, you know, Poland, Ukraine, all around that area in there, right? And, as a matter of fact, I have his flag up on my website under Outreach to Africa, waving back and forth strong. So all I know is what Uncle John told me, and what he said, people, was warmongers make good money, okay? And we've been in a war for a while. It just hasn't, the pimple hasn't popped yet, okay? We know how I feel about food prepping and the different types, you know. It's one, I started hardcore. I always had extra food. We know that as the kids were growing up, just because, but it wasn't to where it is now in relation to what's happening in 2021, 2022. Okay, Fukushima radiation is a whole lot different than what we've been going through in the last 2 years. The prospect of an earthquake happening and taking down our infrastructure for several months because of a natural disaster is minute compared to, like, in terms of, like, if that was to happen, of course you'd want food in the house, you'd want water, or at least a way to purify water. Like in my travels, okay, I'm not going to rush with this video, because I got a long day and I got to get this stuff canned today with a good attitude so that when the end product is done, it's delicious. Okay, that's the point of the exercise here. And then I can relax and get back onto my sweet potatoes. I haven't looked at them. I hope they're not spoiling in that box. They shouldn't be. Okay, so I got off track there again. I don't remember what I was saying. Warmongering. You know, I mean, do we prep because of war? You know what, people? That was never my thought. Never, ever was I. Fukushima radiation, you know, having kids, being a little prepared. Then along came moving in here, and Fukushima radiation came. I still have plastic, people, and gray tape, okay? I still have plastic from Fukushima radiation, okay? I can show you right now. Andre found it for me because I had a bag. He says, Nana, what would happen if war started? I said, well, if war started, depending on how close it was to us. Oh my God, hold on.
Listen to this. And then I'm going to tell you what happened. But many everyday Americans are transforming into preppers. The film's average.
Okay, I just managed to convert over a video when I did all this stuff in here. Okay, so I'm going to upload it now. And then I took that little break yesterday. Okay, my brain is so fuzzy right now. And of course it's dark, right? Okay, so what was I saying? Oh my God. What was I saying? Warmongering. I'm talking about warmongering. Oh yes. So, okay. So, Andre asked me, because for all my food prep people, I never thought of war until what's been happening since Dr. God, Dr. Death got up on the podium and just doesn't know how to shut up, basically. Okay? Talk about being a talking point. All right. So now, over the last year, we'll just say, I feel like there's going to, I don't know about the whole world, but there's going to be large parts of the world where I guess you could say the economy is going to be like as if they're in a war. Like Venezuela. Is it Venezuela or Cuba? Is it Cuba? Cuba? Venezuela? Those countries where they're like in absolute Haiti. Haiti is another one. In absolute dire poverty. Okay? And lacking of everything, people. It's amazing that they can even survive. That's what I mean by a war for people like my family in my neighborhood. Right? Province, jurisdiction, whatever, region. And if you don't have that income to buffer yourself through that storm, okay, you know, it's going to be really rough. So through my prepping, right, in the back of my mind, I just feel like, I mean, we know I'm not completely safe in this house because the rug can be pulled out from underneath me at any moment because that's how vulnerable I really am with my family. But besides that point, if the shit hit the fan and it got to that point where, you know, the economics were severe and it's almost like the Great Depression cloaked the province. Even though there was a Great Depression, there was still a segment of society, small, over here, that was thriving. Having their little dances in the clubs, and, you know, with the tassels, and, you know, eating fine food and drinking fine wine. Okay, while the other 80% of the population was standing in food lines with war ration tickets and walking away with a bag of flour, a bag of sugar, a pound of lard, that kind of thing. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Where through my whatever I've been doing, I've been trying to avoid that line, that food line, to the best of my ability. So I upped the ante on the food prep, thinking of war. So first it was, I had my kids, you wanted to make sure you had at least 3 months of food supply if something happened. I mean, obviously natural disaster was in my mind, but you have to remember my family was targeted. So we were starting to be dismantled at a very early age. It started really in 2003. Okay, we know that. Right? And then from there until I landed here, and for whatever reason, I'm still here, and through that process, you know, I've been building on, well, we've done the Fukushima, you know, we know about natural disasters, and now it's moved into a state of war where, like, if the water, a big bomb blew off someplace just across the border there, like I said, Andre asked me, what would you do? Well, the first thing I would do is I'd take everybody downstairs and I'd get my plastic that I still have from Fukushima radiation. I already talked to my son about it a long time ago. If it need be, you take that plastic, you put it on your fucking windows, and you use gray tape to tape it on. And then you stay there until the cesium-134, or is it 137, the one that has an 8-day half-life period, okay? It has 8 days before it comes to its half-life. And then the other elements when it comes to radiation, right? That's, you know, because you're going to get sick. Because when Fukushima blew its stack, and it came over on the fucking jet stream, and then it came pouring down, okay? Everybody in my house got sick. Not everybody was in the rain, but it was in the environment. Go back into my videos. I talked about it. Everybody got diarrhea. Everybody got dry lips, became very listless and tired and sleepy. Some people got rashes. Okay? Nobody wanted to eat. Everybody was like that in this house after the rains in April from Fukushima blowing its stack. So that's why if something happened near enough, or anywhere really, and you knew it was big in terms of an atomic bomb, because this is what we're dealing with today, quote unquote, with warmongers posturing to use their weapons to offload old weapons so they have a means to buy new weapons, plus they get to just blow up people and play their game as if it's in cyberspace, okay? Take the kids downstairs, right? Tape up the windows with the plastic and the gray tape. This gray tape is from 2011, people. Okay? I have another roll around here too. Need to find it. And then I'd take blankets or fabric or whatever I could find down there. I'd hang them up, right? So that I can insulate the kids to be warm. I have the fireplace, right? I have window I can open to irrigate, right? So that nobody's getting carbon monoxide and all this other shit. I have the I have the N95 from Fukushima. One time I went, so when this all started out here, people, and you had to wear a mask, and I didn't have no masks, and I went and wore that one out in public, and they're like, oh, you got an N95. Yeah, because I bought it in 2011. I still have N95 masks. I have a couple, not many, but you know those little suits that you can put on yourself, little, right, with your, okay? So if need be, my son can, or I can put on one of those N95 masks, go out, do what we have to do, come back in, and before we come in, we strip our clothes down, we leave them there by the door, then we come in and we quickly rinse ourselves off because of the contamination of radiation in the environment because of war. Is Canada going to be faced with that? I don't know, but if somewhere in the world it goes to war, based on the path that we're on right now, and with what our federal governments are doing to Canadian-born people right now, okay, then yeah, we're going to go into a depression. And the poorest of the poor are going to feel it first. And then the working poor are going to feel it. And then that middle class that thought that they had security by making all the right choices and doing all the right things like Uncle John did, people, will have their lives ripped up from underneath them like Uncle John, people, as the banks and the healthcare system and the government and the courts conspire against them so that assets can be robbed and stolen and bodies can be pillaged so that 20% over there can thrive. Well, I have plastic, I have tape, and if for some reason the infrastructure is to go down and there's no water for a period of time based on whatever, right? Could be a natural disaster, it could be war, it could be anything, right? It could be the fucking government turning off the taps. Who knows, right, people? You know, I have water purification kits. One to test for bacteria. I think I have two of them. And then the other one is with the, you know, the different types of ways to chlorinate so that you can drink it after the fact. without having to rely on boiling it, depending on how contaminated your water really is. Because if it's contaminated with radiation, the only way to get rid of it is to drink distilled water, which unfortunately doesn't have any minerals and vitamins in it, because that's what distilling does. It removes all of that crap. But at least you would know that it was safe and you weren't drinking radiated water. That's why I'm doing this stuff, people. Because if we go into war, wherever we go into war, it's going to be a huge trickle-out effect, because it's already been fractured to where every country on the planet is felt the trickle-out effect already, and it's just going to get worse. Okay? And being that society as a whole, right across the globe, has been conditioned to be carnivorous, to eat meat, we'll put it at 80% of the population, 20% are vegans, okay, of some form, right? You take away that major food source from people on a mass scale, you're going to get a lot of withdrawal. And what comes with withdrawal? Erratic behavior. People go into psychoses over the suffering of not getting whatever it is that controls that dopamine and serotonin in their brain. Okay. So, because they're trying to phase out meat, right? That's why through energy weapons, in my opinion, the Fraser Valley in Abbotsford was wiped out. Okay, 12,000 pigs. 12,000 pigs, people, got wiped out. Washed out. 6,000 chickens. That's what we're being reported on. Okay. Oh, they said it's maybe under 600 cows, but you know, the point is they polluted the land and made it very difficult to pick up where they've been, you know, before that all happened, right? So if we think we're having a meat supply shortage right now, right, in pockets throughout the United States and in pockets in Canada, from one coast to the other coast, right? It's just going to get worse if a war breaks out, because that war is already in the plan in terms of the warmongers wanting to offload their old artillery as well as depopulate so that they can build back better with their trafficked human beings, basically. Will my family survive that scenario if it gets to that point, people? I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, a poor person can only cover their bases so much. And this is another thing that I've been thinking about. Like, I resent the government. I don't care if it's the federal government, because as far as I'm concerned, the federal government is bogus. The way they treated Uncle John in the Supreme Court of Canada under the Criminal Code of Canada is fucking bogus, okay? And I sure in the hell don't care about some shape-shifting bitch that wants to get up there and pretend that it is Mother Teresa, okay? And trying to save the fucking world, when you've got people like me spending our last penny, going into debt, staying in debt, just so that we can be able to survive the war that these individuals have created upon society as a whole. And I've been in that war for a long time, and I've lost a lot of freaking family members in that war. Okay, but they also took out the warrior, though, didn't they? Because they had to make sure that they left me with a disabled child that could possibly, quite possibly, just die on me at any minute because of the type of injury that he received at the time of his birth. Amari hasn't had a poo yet, people. What do you think I'm feeling? I gave him a little suppository yesterday. It's there. I could feel it. But he doesn't push. So it compacts. And that quite possibly kill him. I'm so paranoid I've been using this even more. I put it in with that homemade apple juice, which the jar is now empty. He loved it. I drank it. I'll go get another jar. I can put the peg in that. He likes it. As my government's plotting and scheming how to starve us out, one way or another way. Whether you just can't find it in the grocery store, or you can't afford to buy it because you don't belong in that 20% fucking crowd. Okay? With all the little slaves just sucking on the hoping that they're going to get rich and join that 20%, as if the 20% want to share their wealth. Okay. Anyway, the only other thing that I want to say before I really focus on this stuff is just from what I know, people, through experience, okay? From actually being there. I don't just say, oh, ShaMay this and oh, ShaMay that. No, people, I was there, okay? I was there for Ciera too. Being that whatever is being put into people's bodies is changing the blood, where it creates those little money rolls because the cells die and they end up sticking together one after another, after another, after another. And then that's what causes the blood clots, and that's why people are having heart attacks and all this other crap, right? And just because they put a heart medication now into that type of inoculation, just so that they can continue pumping people with obviously something that is very dangerous. Knowing what I know, by doing exposure on ShaMay as she was dead on that hospital bed, they are changing. I don't know how to say this outside of saying that if you've got a potion being put into your body that changes your blood, congeals it, and then at some point through that congealing process, the blood clot itself changes into a white rubbery substance that goes through the whole vein. You have to ask yourself, why? Why? Because they're trying to preserve the body, people. Okay? I'm working with this meat. I caught it just in time. Trust me, I know what bad meat smells like, okay? I mean, we can't eat it, but dogs can. Dogs can eat some really green, grody meat because their stomachs can digest it. Ours can't, right? And how do I know that? Because one time I had a boyfriend that had dogs, and I don't know, somehow, some way he came home with some rotten meat. Like, literally, it was fucking rotten. And I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing with that rotten? Like, check it out. Why did you bring it home? Oh, I'm giving it to the dogs. I'm like, what? And he did. And the dogs ate it. Okay? Did the dogs get sick? No. Would I have eaten it? Hell no. Okay? So, obviously, you can see I salvaged it. thank you, Lord. Thank you. Considering all things said and what's going on in our economy, I am so happy to have this, even though I'm kind of tired doing it, right? In terms of, I'm tired, people. But I can get it all done today. I'll be up maybe till 4 or 5 in the morning. But that's it. I'm done. And then I just have to go downstairs and continue working to put it away. And feel even more better that I have it for my family. For my family. Okay? But when I got into that freezer, because what happened was, I'm going to upload this video now because it's long. And then I'll start a new video as I focus just on this. And we'll just keep it focused on that. Okay? But let me end it on this. So, you know, something said, look, to see, first of all, if it was plugged in, and it wasn't. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, I panicked. As soon as I opened it up, put my hand in there, I could feel that it was unthawed. But it was cold. You see, that's the thing. It was cold. So, of course, I start digging everything out. I call Andre, because he had to use the flashlight, because it was already dark by that time, right? And the light that's in the garage wasn't enough for me to be able to see. So then I have to grab pots and buckets and whatever, and so I'm sorting things out, you know, and I'm pulling it, and I could see that basically everything had unthawed right to the bottom of, now it's just a small little deep freeze, and there was a pool of blood at the bottom of the deep freeze. Now this is in the dark. I'm in panic mode. I gotta get this shit cooking now, right? So I'm kind of storming around, getting mad at myself. Was it me? You know, and I'm like, yo, whatever, you know. And so I come upstairs and I start the stock, and I get things in the oven. I just jumped into it. Okay. Obviously, I didn't clean the deep freeze. Now, was it really smelling in there at first? Honestly, nothing that stood out in terms of, if it was bad, you'd know it as soon as you'd open it, right? So, anyway, after I got everything out, got some into Auntie ShaMay's room, got some upstairs, right? I had just closed the lid on the deep freeze, and I was going to deal with it the next day, okay? And I just got into doing what I had to do. Obviously, I rinsed everything off, okay? Because even if you open up a bag and it can smell like blood, right? You just rinse it off and you smell the meat and you'll be able to tell, okay? Whether it's good or bad. So, everything got salvaged except these, those little ravioli things and pasta or cheese, or those I just gave to the animals, right? That I couldn't salvage those. And you have to remember, some of this stuff was vacuum sealed, and when you vacuum sealed, things don't spoil as fast in a vacuum seal bag. They really don't. You can take something out from the freezer that's been vacuum sealed, put it into your fridge, and it can sit there for a few days more than if it was just in some kind of standard package. That's what I've discovered about vacuum sealing. So anyway, okay, did whatever I did. There was the only one I didn't like in terms of the meat that I've come into contact with so far was those cutlets. But then I didn't like those cutlets when I had something in my son's freezer and I took it out and I fried it up. I didn't like it then either, right? So when that happened, I wasn't too surprised, and it was simple for me. I just threw it into all those chicken bones, mixed it all up, and those chicken bones, because I had cooked them for so long, they just basically, for the most part, I could just squeeze them and everything just blended up really together. So anyway, I went downstairs. I went to now go open up the freezer to clean it. After I got everything kind of like, right? This was the next day. In the daylight, so I could see. And boy, people, I tell you, it smelled just like Ciera's dead body with that blood. As soon as I walked into the room where Ciera was in that body bag, I could smell it. And I had a mask on. when I opened up that freezer, blood is blood, right? Blood is blood, okay? I could smell it, and it was the same type of smell. So, you know, what I'm trying to say is, with our governments depriving people of protein by one, making it harder to find, and by two, by making it more expensive, so less can buy it because they can't afford it, even though they were conditioned to be carnivorous, is going to be a problem if we go into a war and it becomes even less and less. Okay? That's my stomach growling. Okay? And, you know, I'd be very suspicious of the food supply as time goes by. Just because. But then on the other hand, whatever's going on, they want these bodies, people, for their robotoids. They need the skin. They do. Okay? And what best way to preserve a body with that blood? Even if you flush it out, they don't want to put embalming fluid into the veins because it doesn't preserve the body that good, people. We've seen that with ShaMay. I'm trying to formulate it so you can understand it, what I'm thinking. Okay? And only because I was there. If I wouldn't have been there, then I'd have no right to say, this is what I know. Not what I think, but what I know, because I've seen it for myself. And I've even investigated it a bit, okay? If I wanted to take somebody's skin, okay, if I wanted to, what would be the best way to do that? Well, if you embalm a body, sooner or later, the skin is going to spoil. They can't stop it. That's embalming just can slow it down, but they can't stop the decomposition of the skin. That's what ShaMay taught us. Okay? No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't do it. But we have to ask ourselves, why did they have her body on a hospital bed for 9 days after it had been embalmed illegally in the hospital? Okay? Within a 7-hour period of her showing up there through their ambulance system. Okay? And within 3 hours, she was clearly embalmed. Okay, why? Why, people? Because they wanted to cover up murder so that they could illegally harvest her organs, and they felt that they had to embalm her and put her on a bed to make it look like they were trying to save her. That's what they say. They just forgot to tell us about the embalming part. Why did they leave it on plugged in for 9 days, people? Right? She was clinically supposedly written off on the 16th. But they kept that dead body embalmed illegally on that bed for another 3 more days. Why? Besides that point, being that little fucking science experiment didn't work, okay, what would be the next best way to preserve the skin after the organs have been taken out? Fill the veins with something else. Right? Something that doesn't spoil like blood. Something that can travel through the whole system, including the arteries, if given enough time. That's clearly rubber-like and durable. Because this is what's being reported on inside of dead bodies after these inoculations, and embalmers are finding it more and more. And we need to ask ourselves, why? Like I said, why are they trying to change the blood? Well, there's a reason for that, people. So, I just want you to think about that. I don't know what the reason is outside of what I'm telling you now. Okay? Because whatever they did to ShaMay was completely morbid. It was satanic. And they just didn't stop with ShaMay. They went after Ciera. And because they don't follow the Criminal Code of Canada, right? They do what they want. You see, that's the thing. They do what they want. And that's what Uncle John taught us. Okay? So for all these human beings being trafficked into this country to facilitate that type of activity, they need to stop and ask themselves how safe their families really are, and if it's worth even having kids to keep feeding into that beast system. Okay? You know, think of a body as one man's junk is another man's treasure. That's where we're at in society. Okay, so as I'm going about getting ready to do everything, I'm listening to Alex Jones here, right, on BitChute. Doesn't that dude look familiar, people? Didn't we just talk about Mr. Toucan with his nose and his turkey swinging around chicken head neck and, you know, just whatever, right? Like, that's the same dude, people. That's the same dude that they've got in Toronto or Ontario right now, arresting a whole bunch of Canadians. Canadian-born people. Mostly white. A few immigrants, a lot of them from Poland and places like that understand what's going on. Right? I'm sure there's natives in there. We know there's a few Punjabis in there. But ultimately, it's a depopulation of the Caucasian race in Canada at the hands of things that put out the white face as a cloak, right? In terms of that institutional racism, right? Got to keep fueling that so that the other ethnic groups don't step up and help the Caucasians, right? You know, because if you look at most of these rallies, there's mostly white people coming out, right? But that's the same dude, people. If I was to take you to my other video, you'd see it's the same dude. Okay? Who it is more than likely an android. Okay? Seriously. Walking around with dead body parts inside of it. Okay? Maybe ShaMay's teeth, for all I know.
I see it.
That's the same dude. Same toucan nose.
Yes, David. Well, I think that's part of it. But
yeah. So, how would you know? We were already warned that they were going to be bringing out mass amounts of robotoids, people, in 2021. Where are they going to put them in? The grocery stores? Right? How are they going to introduce robotoids? Humanoids / robot, right? Where are they going to introduce them into society, into our classrooms with teachers? Right? They're already in the police force. Seen that with Ciera. Okay? Right? I just haven't had time to go back and work on that because, you know, got to take care of my family as best as I can just to extend, that's all, just to extend our lives. But how do we know this isn't a robotoid? Look how they got him dressed up.
can do what they've done. And the Canadian government...
And the Canadian government, this is what they do to Canadians who disagree with their politics.
Government has to admit...
Anyway, you know where to find this video. Okay, I haven't put this up on the... You know what's on here, right? So... It's only 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 1:45, 10 to 2. I just carried up a bunch of shit. The sausage... Wait till I show you. Plus I brought up all those apples. Because as soon as I'm done all this, I'm getting into apples. And now that I have a little space in that deep freeze... Oh, I don't know. It would be nice if I could do apple pie. over the next few days between maybe canning applesauce or making dehydrated apple slices. Besides that point, this is one of the pots with the beef broth from outside. Hold on. So, doing it the way I did it is in my favor. If I just would have used it as is, you'd see how much grease would be going into that broth. Sometimes you don't have a choice, you just got to get on with it because there's so much to do. In this situation, I just got tired and I needed a little rest. So now that I've had my little rest, I'm gung-ho for the whole day. Okay, I'm going to try and get all this meat. You'll see how much it is on my next video. It's a lot, okay? We're getting into sausages and kupa sauce, being that Ukraine is, I don't know what's going on in Ukraine, people, but it's just not right. So in the meantime, take that all off. Now, I do believe that we're going to go into a form of Great Depression for that below a certain income when it comes to classism, regardless of their ethnic heritage, da-da-da, right? So, I don't know. I think this grease, I just might take it, some of it, and I'll mix it into that cat food that's downstairs right now in a bucket before Andre puts it into a muffin tins so we can freeze it and then have little portions for the cats. Okay? Because it might come to that, people. Am I a little worried about not being in the basement, putting things away fast enough? Well, obviously. But, you know, sometimes we just have to do these things, okay? When they come about. If I would have just turned my nose on all that meat, you just would have, I just would have thrown away at least $300, if not more. And this is not the time to do it. Okay? Never mind, we don't know what the grocery stores are going to be like in 6 months from now. I don't see how 37 million people in Canada can allow what's happening in Ottawa right now with the toucan nose and his kind, which I do believe are androids. Okay, that's why they've got them so covered up and hidden so you don't notice it. Okay? Right? They have to bring them out somewhere, and they're not going to be bringing them out in the grocery stores at the cashier till. Okay? Eventually they will. Right? They're not going to flood the school system with them, although I do believe they probably already have them in there. Right? Because too many of those teachers are too comfortable in wearing their masks all day long, as they see little kids wear their masks all day long, knowing if they're educated that that's not good for the brain. And it sure in hell doesn't promote constructive or conducive learning. Okay? So, military and the police force, that would be the first place they'd bring these things in. Okay? So, now what we're going to do is going to heat this up, get it going. I'm going to put Amari on the toilet first. I don't know. I'm not out of the woods with Amari yet, people. This is not good what's going on with Amari. Okay? I gave him a drink. Oh, I don't know. I think I broke down and gave him one yesterday. Right? So, anytime I give him those drinks, I'm scared because they make it worse. Not to say that he didn't have that problem before the drinks. The drinks just made it worse. Okay? So anyway, I'm going to turn this off now. And I'm going to add this onto the computer and I'll just put everything together and you know what I'm doing right now. And that will be the next video. Oh, but before I do that, I want to show you something. Hold on. This is it. Talk about Ukraine. Pastor Granny gave that to me. Okay, I'm pretty sure it was either that or Pastor Granny's daughter. It's been sitting in the fridge. I haven't opened it up yet. These ones were frozen. Pastor Granny did give this to me. I bought a whole bunch of those before, and now I did can, right? A whole bunch. This is my second batch of canning. Okay, and I probably still have some in a different deep freeze. But for now, these ones were in the freezer, then they unthawed, and they need to be canned up. So you can see these are pepperoni sticks. Andre wants me to leave one out. I told him that's fine as long as he heats them up before he eats them. Yeah, okay, that's how you do that double check, as if it was in a canning jar. You'd still have to heat it up. Okay, these are some sort of I don't know, soy-free little original pepperoni bites. Same thing. Okay, and then we've got European wieners. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, to make it easy on myself, everything's all nice and clean. You can see. All right, keeping busy here. There's my bones that I'm going to make bone meal with somehow, some way for gardening. Okay, plus I've got another smaller one with the lamb bones. All right, I don't even have my flashlight on. Just whipping it around. Okay, so you can see. All right. I'll take these. I'll cut them up. Probably put them in the blue one. Right? Over there. These ones, well, between these, something will go in the orange one. And then we'll see what's left. And then they're all going into the oven. Okay? Because I have stuff in the fridge that needs to be canned up. I can't remember what it is right now. That's how tired I am. I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyway, I don't have to cook them on 220. I can cook them on 350. Get them going. Release some of the grease. Oops, sorry. Okay, release some of the grease before you put it into your jars with your broth that's already been degreased. Now I have another pot, so I should have enough for everything that I need to do. Oh yes, we have, okay, this is what I gotta do. So this is what the next video is all about. Okay, I'm gonna try and stay focused on it. So the goal is I have the Italian sausage with sausage I have to can, so that's in the fridge now because I couldn't do it last night. I don't want to get sick with this, okay? When I was up till 5:30 in the morning, I was starting to feel sick, okay? Because, you know, I'm putting in long, hard hours. So we've got that. I deboned the pig's feet, okay? So, right? So that's should be probably gelled. I'll show you in the next video. How I'm going to can that yet, I'm not sure, other than put it in a jar, and I'm canning it, okay? And there's something else in there. There was 3 of them. Oh, yes, bacon. But it's not really bacon. What it was sliced pork for bacon that you just salt and pepper for yourself, right? So I'm just going to put those into jars. It's not very much. And I'm just going to can them, and I'm going to see what happens. It tastes good. I just put salt and pepper in it. It was just raw pork that I unthawed, sliced like bacon. So I've got those 3 things I have to can first before I even do these things. So technically, for the amount of time, because we're looking at 90 minutes for quart-sized jars, which is a long time. And then we're looking at 75 minutes for pints. And I'm looking at, for what I got there, probably 2 different batches, however I'm going to do it. So I can cut these all up. I'm going to use my pans. I'll show you. And I'll put them in the oven at 120. So before I can, get this all in the oven at 120 so that by the evening it should be done, and then that will be with whatever broth I have left. I will can it with that, and then we're done. And then I'm going to show you all these apples I brought up because they were kind of, you know, I didn't like the smell in ShaMay's fridge. So I took out every single apple, found 3 rotten ones, so they're gone in the compost. And after this is all done with the meat, right, jars are washed, labeled, right, pretty much ready to go down, I'm getting into the apples. I'm either going to make applesauce, or I'll probably will, because I got a lot, right? I probably will make some applesauce. I don't know if I'll find time to make pies, but that would be nice because I can just freeze them. If I ask my son to help me with that, he'll just eat them all. So I don't really want to ask him to help me. Right, Andre? If Uncle Marcade helps me with making apple pie, who eats them all?
Him.
Yeah, him.
I only get 1.
Yeah, we don't
I
even...
owe one slice.
No, even though I supply all the shortening and the flour and the apples, and we don't even get a slice. So I kind of maybe want to do that with Andre. So as long as I just get half of them done, maybe with the canning, I do want to kind of dehydrate some apple slices with a little bit of cinnamon and brown sugar on them. That would be nice for the kids, for Alea May and Andre, right? I can always throw an apple slice in Amari's food. That would be nice, right? You know, as I'm going a bit about my daily business. And then just finish off with the sweet potatoes. And then we'll see whatever else detour happens, right? You know, somebody will come by, my neighbors will come by and drop off a whole bunch more food just as I get caught up with everything, people. And I still want to do that black cod, okay? I'm determined to do that black cod. I really, really am, okay? I haven't been able to do it yet, but I brought up an unopened bottle of virgin olive oil for that black cod. And I have the jars. I have the fish jars for them. So I'm really excited for that. But that ain't happening for a while. Right? So, one last little look. This is the end of this video. Okay? Okay? Let me take a picture. All right. Ooh, hold on. Let me take a picture. Oh, wait, I have to turn off the camera in order to take a picture. Doesn't that look good? Oh, boy. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to mention, there's this sliced meat, too. So all this, right? Okay, this, if it freezes and then unthaws, you're not supposed to refreeze it, people. So this is how you end up saving your food, okay? So you can see what's going on here, right? This is turkey, right? Turkey. And then we've got, here's another one. So that's four turkeys, right? And then we've got smoked beef. We've got black forest ham. We've got pizza pepperoni, right? Here's another turkey. So, right? You see what's going on here? Look at this. Smoked beef. Smoked beef. Pastor Granny gave this to me. And there's a pizza one. There's a pizza one. Okay? So what will end up happening is I'm going to open these up, right? Slice them into just slices and mix them in. And they all get canned together. They're all nitrated food, right? And it will be good. That's why you need the broth. Okay, I haven't put these videos from this, onto my computer yet, so I will after this, okay? I have to finish up with the video that I just uploaded onto YouTube, and I have to convert it over again to bring down the, the whatever, right? Gigabytes, so I can put it on BitChute. So here we go. This is what's happening. So we've got the little pepperonis in there, okay? I cut them up into about inch size, you can see, right, with the sliced pepperoni that was in the package. This is the Montgomery Jack, those types of things, okay? Here is more pepperoni plus that little sausage, you can see. And then I put the turkey in with that, right? Here we've got all that kupasa, right, garlic sausage, which I tasted, which is very, very good. Make sure there's no skin on them that's like plastic, right? Like that other one will probably have plastic on it. But these ones don't. So these ones, they're fine. So I just cut them up until about an inch size, you can see. And then I'm taking the rest of this, right? And this is the ham. I'll mix them all up and I'll leave them in that corner. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. Put all the lids on them. Just a tad. Really, they don't even need water because they've been frozen, so they have excess water in them, so they're going to leach, right, moisture. So, with the lids on, it's just going to, so I have to watch it doesn't overflow, right, throughout the day as I'm starting all my other stuff. And then, hold on. Okay, so you can see, right, and we still have this one here. Yet which I might just, this has never been frozen, so I might just open that up, put them into packages, and vacuum seal them and freeze them. I'm not sure because I still have that other stuff in the fridge to can, then all this, okay? It would take up all my jars. Now, this beef fat, because I've got to skim off another one. You know, honestly, people, with the way the world is going, I'm thinking to simmer that down in terms of, like, if you were to make, hold on. If you were to make, I know I'm supposed to finish this video. I'm finishing it now. If you, this is just a thought, right? If you were to make lard, right? You know, you just simmer it right down until all the water disappears, and what's left behind is the crackling and the grease, the fat. That's like a beef talon, which is beef lard, right? Kind of. I'm not, you know. So I'm thinking to skim off the other pot, which I have to do anyway. Putting that into one pot, both of them, and just keep them on low. And to evaporate some of the water over a period of time. Not that or put it at, maybe I'll put it in a crock pot so I can move the crock pot off to the side and just leave the lid open, like no lid, right? And let the water evaporate to see if I can just get a solid grease. And then in a situation like that, you could either can it, right, in a jar, you could, or you can freeze it, and if for some reason we do go into a depression of some kind, where that 80% is having a hard time coming across food and food items, then I have beef lard. Just saying. Right? So now I put the lids on. For these ones anyway, right? Oh my God. Glass is all greasy, can't see nothing. I got it at 220 to buy me time. I added just a little teeny bit of water in each one just to get it started. This one I'm not going to cover up because I'm going to be continuously stirring. Right? When it gets closer to that time, I can always cover it up with tin foil. Right? When I was doing before all night long, I noticed that on top of the Italian sausage, it charcoaled up, but I just mix it all up anyway, right? And that was with the lid on, right? Oh God, I love these. These are nice, people.
Vaccine mandates because of public pressure and all this stuff, and so they say, okay, well,
right.
we'll do what you want. Then,
but I'm hoping to can these by tonight. Okay, by tonight. They're all getting canned. Okay, that's the goal. For sure, I'm ending this video now. So I skimmed off that grease from the stock in the other pot. There's really not that much. You see, this is why I like to keep stuff like this, because you never know when you're going to need it. This one's small, right? So I've got it on high first. Just, I don't know. No, I've got it on low. I don't know how well this works. What is it? See, they have off, low, and high. Anyway, I'm just going to put it on low for now. I don't have time for this. I just want to see what happens. And I'm going to see how it responds. And then I'm going to, once it gets nice and hot in there, right? Assuming that it will get hot on low. I'm not sure. Right? Okay. I don't know how well this works. Then I'll take off the lid, stir it around so that the water can evaporate, and eventually all you're going to do is get grease. Okay? Because the water will evaporate. And that's what you want to save for frying or stuff like that. So, yeah, everything's in there now. Okay, let me take a picture.